Awakening in a moment of peace, I give thanks to the source of all peace. As I set forth into the day, the birds sing with new voices, and I listen with new ears and give thanks. Nearby, the flower called Angel's Trumpet blows in the breeze, and I give thanks. My feet touch the grass, still wet with dew, and I give thanks, both to my Mother Earth for sustaining my steps, and to the seas cycling once again to bring forth new life. The dewdrops become jeweled with the morning's sunfire, and I give thanks. You can see forever when the vision is clear. In this moment, each moment, I give thanks.
The Shafetz Chaim, Rabbi Israel Meir HaKohen, excuse my pronunciation, dedicated his life to teaching, preaching, and writing about the gravity of gossip, slander, and evil talk. Once, on a train returning from a trip, he met another traveler. "Where are you heading?" asked the Shafetz Chaim. I'm on my way to Radin to see the great Tzaddik, the Shafetz Chaim. The Shafetz Chaim, the man said. The Shafetz Chaim, who was a paragon of humility, asked, "Why do you call him the great Tzaddik? What is so special about him? He's a person like any other." "How dare you speak with such insolence about the great Tzaddik?" the man said, accompanying his rebuke with a sound slap to the sage's face. Upon being introduced to the Shafetz Chaim in Radin, the embarrassed man asked forgiveness for his rudeness. "There is no need to apologize," said the Shafetz Chaim. "After all, it was my honor you were defending. But this incident taught me something valuable. You must not speak badly of any person, even of yourself."
I didn't mean to give you all those hard words. So the rabbi, Israel Meir HaKohen, dedicated his life to teaching, preaching, and writing about the gravity of gossip, slander, and evil talk. As you heard, once on a train, he met another traveler. And the story went on from there. So with that still in your mind, must not speak evil, badly of any person, even of yourself, I'm going to ask you a question. And you don't have to raise your hand, because we probably all have the same answer, but we might be a little embarrassed to own it. If you talked to your pet or your children the way you talk to yourself, would someone call the abuse hotline? Yeah, me too. I'm getting a little bit better about it, but it is not unusual to hear me mutter, I'm so stupid. And when I get halfway down the stairs and remember the thing that I went upstairs for initially. And I have really unpleasant things to say about my intelligence when I return to my office, only to forget what the original task even was. I'm trying to be a little kinder, recognizing that I have a lot on my mind, and my thoughts are always moving faster than my feet. So I'm mentally already on the next task when I arrive at the original destination. But that little bit of grace and understanding only happens about 10% of the time. The rest of the time, I am pretty mean in my self-talk. So our story today provided a good lesson about how we can be this way in our self-talk. When the rabbi responded to the traveler's praise with kind of offhanded self-effacement, the traveler, not realizing he was talking to the one whose qualities he was praising, became enraged on behalf of the one he admired, rebuking him soundly. And of course, the traveler was mortified when he was later introduced to the rabbi, only to discover that it was the man he had struck. The rabbi's response there demonstrated grace, humility, and wisdom. He said that there was no need to apologize. He said, after all, it was my honor you were defending, but this incident taught me something valuable. You must not speak badly of any person, even of yourself. The injunction to love our neighbor as we love ourselves assumes we have some basic regard for ourselves. It's probably a good thing that our level of kindness to others is not in direct proportion to the kindness we extend to ourselves, but we really should strive for some kind of balance, maybe even some reciprocity. So perhaps you're thinking, hey, I have been faking it for a long time. I'm quite adept at being decent to others while loathing myself. But I wonder, we're not really wired for that kind of duplicity, and those that truly excel at it are usually labeled as sociopaths, not lifted up as exemplars. Now, I'm not talking about a self-love that is self-absorbed or narcissistic. I'm not talking about a self-love that has low standards and expectations for our own behavior while holding others to a different level. I'm not talking about holding ourselves to impossible standards of perfection. So what am I talking about? Well, earlier I described the rabbi's response to the traveler's embarrassment as demonstrating grace, humility, and wisdom, extending grace to the traveler for their mistake and their impulsive behavior, remaining humble about his own worth, and having the wisdom to learn from the experience rather than feeling angry or shamed by it and closing down. That particular sentence is a sermon all unto itself. But I'm just getting warmed up. How would our lives be different if we extended grace not only to others when they make a mistake, but to ourselves as well? Not making excuses, not finding someone else to blame, but recognizing that we fell short of who we aspire to be and making an effort to do better next time. How would our lives be different if we were able to hear praise with humility, not brushing it off, but accepting another's words with gladness as proof that the work that we are doing on ourselves is bearing fruit? How would our lives be different if we could recognize our shortcomings and feel their sting without feeling overcome by shame and shutting down? This is the work that sociologist Brené Brown specializes in, the work of vulnerability and shame resiliency. And I find it so compelling that you've probably noticed it is a common thread in my reflections with you. And who knows, you might even hear more about that next week. It could happen. Now, if you're looking at your watch and thinking, oh, good grief, is she going to talk about self-esteem for the rest of the hour? The answer is no. However, how we regard ourselves can be a threshold or an obstacle to finding the sacred within. We are on a journey to experience a close encounter. And to do that, we need to do a little review of the ground that we've covered this month. Our purpose for this month-long exploration of close encounters has been to find the sacred. Now, let me remind you that when I use the language of the sacred, I mean that which is of ultimate worth, that which demands and deserves our respect and awe. It is not completely measurable, and we will never be able to catch it and put it in a glass jar to study like we would a firefly. The sacred is subjective and transrational, which is different from irrational. What is sacred to me may not be at all special to you. That said, for this sermon series, I purposely chose 3 close encounters that I thought could probably be stretched to be sacred or special for most people. So let me say let me say whole paragraphs about the verb to find, because that was the second half of the title throughout. We had Close Encounters 1, finding the sacred in nature. Close Encounters 2, finding the sacred in others, etc. So there's this finding element. I hate to brag, but I am a professional finder. I don't know. It's always been a gift of mine. If you lose it, I can probably find it. Obviously, I can't find everything, or I'd probably be in a different line of work and on TV or something. But I can find a surprising number of things. So it was probably a year ago when our then administrator, Jamie Sheridan, misplaced her car keys. The 2 of us looked in every possible logical location. And finally, I drove her home, and she left her car here to retrieve later with her husband's spare key. The next morning, as I drove in, I remembered that the previous morning, there had been a case of copy paper waiting by the mailboxes in the portico lobby. It had been delivered sometime late the afternoon before. Immediately, I knew where I would find Jamie's keys, knowing that she would have wanted to unload the paper as soon as she got in. I opened the cupboard where paper is stored, and ta-da! There were her keys. So the first law of finding things, whether it is people or their stuff, is to be observant about others' habits and inclinations. The second law of finding things, I'm making these up, by the way, there are no such things of these that I know of, is to put yourself in the context of what you want to find. If you want to find sand dollars, you should put yourself near an ocean. It's kind of like the lottery. You got to be in it to win it. The next step is probably self-explanatory, but it's amazing how often we forget to do this. To find something, it often helps to seek it. Seek and ye shall find, right? Now, it is not a universal law that you will automatically find the thing you seek, but your chances are much better if you put some effort into it. Finally, we need to be open to finding something other than what we expected. Okay, so now you know the laws of finding, and we've talked about what the sacred is, that really special something that deserves our respect and awe. You can add additional flavors to that as you wish. Now let's put these methods to work in finding the sacred. We need to put ourselves in a context where that could possibly happen. If we're seeking the sacred in nature, it really helps to go outside. If you know that music moves you deeply, go to a concert or put on your headphones and listen to your best playlist. If solitude is what you need, then make the space for that kind of quiet time alone. Putting ourselves in the appropriate context increases the opportunities for finding the sacred, that which is special and of ultimate worth to us. So far this month, we have discovered that we can find the sacred in nature by recognizing and participating in a way of reciprocity with the more than human beings, by opening ourselves to all of the natural world. We've learned that we can find the sacred in others by recognizing the spark of divinity, of creativity and light that resides in each one. Today, we will look within to find the sacred. Now, we hinted at this last week as we read from Starhawk, who wrote, "If that which you seek you find not within yourself, you will never find it without," which was a paraphrase of something that Gandhi had said much earlier. Last week, that particular quotation, "If that which you seek you find not within yourself, you will never find it without," was in the context of not collapsing into someone else that we might admire for their spiritual experience or qualities. This week, that same reading reminds us that rather than looking to another person, we can find the sacred within ourselves. In fact, the Hindu concept of namaste is built upon an understanding that the sacred resides in all of us, and it is the light within us that is able to recognize the light in others. Or maybe it would help to put that in more approachable language in a Unitarian Universalist setting. The inherent worth and dignity in me affirms the inherent worth and dignity in you. Yesterday, here at church, we celebrated the second memorial service in a week. I say celebrated because what makes these services unique in our tradition is that rather than speculating on where the deceased may be with regard to some form of afterlife, we focus on the person as they were in this life, the light they carried within, and how they let that light shine in the world. It is in these moments that I find the sacred, that which is of ultimate worth. It is in these rituals of closure, as families and friends remember and retell the stories of living, that I gain some insight. Insight, literally the capacity to gain an accurate and deep intuitive understanding of a person or thing. Yes, I gain some insight into the life of the person that we are remembering. But even more, I've had the opportunity to gain insight into the human condition, and more specifically, what lives in me, and what legacy I wish to leave behind. What light is shining in me and through me? Am I letting it shine? Or have I been so busy with the everythingness of life that I haven't had time to tend its flame, trim the wick, fill the vessel with oil? Come as you are, as you were, as love wants you to be, as a friend among friends, in your own harmony. Take your time, have no fear. The choice is yours, and we're all here. Take a rest, ease your mind. Come on home. Right now is the time. So at long last, we find ourselves at close encounters of the third kind. So, close encounters of the third kind, I always wondered about what 1 and 2 were, and I did not look them up. I made them up, which is much more entertaining for me. But the Close Encounters of the Third Kind is a title of a 1977 science fiction film by Steven Spielberg. The title was derived from ufologist. That is a real job. A person who studies UFOs is a ufologist. You learn so much on the internet, it's just true. So the title was derived from J. Allen Hynek's classification of a close encounter with aliens, in which the third kind denotes human observations of aliens or animate beings, as opposed to, the usual flashing lights and spaceships, like you see all the time. And it must be true because I read it on the internet. I was charmed at the classification of the third kind being an encounter with aliens as living beings. I really could not have asked for a better or more apt analogy for the search for the sacred within ourselves. Because let's face it, in many ways, we remain alien to ourselves and, frankly, to one another. Maybe it's all this thinking about close encounters and aliens, but it occurred to me, in a flash of insight, I might even say, that there is a linguistic connection between the word earthling and the word seedling. Go ahead and give that sound of wonder. Yes, okay, good. Now I know you're thinking about it. A seedling is a young plant raised from a seed, not a cutting. During seed development, the plant stores food that the seedling will use for emergence. Oh my goodness, my favorite word, emergence. I'm having such a good day. Okay. So maybe another word for emergence is becoming. Not becoming some random crazy thing, but becoming the seedling that contains all of the potential that was captured in the seed. Becoming what we already are, or at least have the potential to be. Not a cutting, not a clone of something else. Becoming the light that is our essence. When we project the same parameters for the word earthling as we did for seedling, we might discover something new, maybe even life-changing. When we think about the term earthling, as it is used in science fiction, I don't know about you, but I think human. Okay, earthling, take me to your leader. It wasn't that like a line in every terrible Saturday afternoon sci-fi film? Yes. But it's not just limited to humans. Because if a seedling is created from a seed, then an earthling is of the earth, which means more than human. We're not the only thing here. Sorry, I might have just burst somebody's bubble. We're not alone. The rest of it is all a part of it. Everything that is of the earth is an earthling. Everything that contains the spark of life, even if it is a spark that we have not figured out how to see or experience, is an earthling. We're just one type of earthling. We happen to be the human type. And as we affirmed last week, everything is a part of all of it, one big interdependent web of existence. So all of our close encounters are simply encounters with the stuff of earth, with earthlings. A close encounter of the first kind, my definition's of first kind, not Hynek's. A close encounter of the first kind with nature is our relationship with earth stuff. Mountains, lakes, rocks, flowers, sunrise, sunset. A close encounter of the second kind with others is our relationship with the creatures of earth. The creepy crawlies, the swimmers, the flyers, the four-leggeds, and even other two-leggeds. All of these have within them the spark of life, the light of divinity. Our close encounters of the third kind are with our own alien selves. The skin we're in, the complicated combination of thoughts and experiences, skin and eye color, all of it. And since everything in our world is made up of life, all of it is sacred. All of it is worthy of our respect and awe. Our task is to recognize that light and to realize that we are of the same light. The sacred is all around us, and it is within us. We just need to remember some of the laws of finding, observing habits and relationships, putting ourselves in context, noticing patterns, and being open to finding something other than what we thought we were looking for. I know that we come to church for many, many different reasons. We come seeking a variety of things, and I hope that you find what you are seeking. But I also hope you are open to finding something that is different from what you expected to find. May you find friends, and may you find ideas that challenge you. May you find a word of hope, and may you find a place with ideas that challenge you. May you find a way to make your life matter and to make a difference. May you sing and laugh and learn to speak out, and may you find a stillness at the core of your being that calms and steadies you. If you're looking for a place to belong, to sink roots for yourself, for the people you love, I hope in that seeking that you have found it here. The light in me recognizes the light in you. The light in each of us recognizes the light in all of us. The light is love.